here as well. All right, good morning. Just a moment. All right, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I am Nabil Tirmazi from Asia Pacific Institute for Broadcasting Development, and I would like to welcome you all for this information pack event on e-waste management solutions and also sustainable practices in content production. I would like to welcome you all, and by looking at the registrations, like we have over 25 countries being represented over here today, and most of them are of course from the engineering department. And this specific topic on e-waste management, this is kind of a very less discussed kind of topic among the broadcasters, which I am not sure why. Maybe after this session we will be talking more about it.
About
And we have a very interesting bouquet of speakers from Canada, from New Zealand, from India, from Thailand. So we will be learning a lot about the current situations and current challenges of the broadcasters regarding e-waste management, and also what are some of the opportunities which we as broadcasters are missing. So without further ado, I would like to move on to the first speaker and also the moderator of the show, Mr. Anindya Sen Gupta. If I may have his slide. So Mr. Anindya Sen Gupta is a director with Center for Global Affairs and Public Policy, which works on energy transitions, digital transformation, and trade reset. Three major themes reshaping our world. He's a former civil servant with more than 2 decades of experience in public policy and communication. He's also an author, investor, and policy consultant. So, Mr. Sen Gupta, without further ado, let's hear that what this challenge is all about and what is e-waste management in a fundamental thing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nabil. Thank you so much to you and AIBD both for organizing this. Uh, mm, Sorry, I think my screen share, I need to share my slides. That
Uh,
uh,
Mr. Ipang, if you
yeah.
can promote him as the co-host. By the way, I just want to make another small reference that we are honored to have so many director engineers in our participants today from different countries, and we would be definitely be very pleased that if they can also share their strategies or their challenges regarding this e-waste and how they are tackling with that kind of thing, but right after these presentations. So Mr. Anindya, are you able to share your presentation? Perfect. Over to you. Mr. Anandya, you're on mute, sir.
Sorry, I hope you can hear me now, right?
Perfectly well.
Yeah. So, thanks, Nabil, so much for organizing this. I remember we started talking about it almost 2 years ago in Asia Media Summit in Bali. And there, the conversation was, first we had this conversation with ITU head, Madam Atsuko. And we, as an organization, we have been working on waste management and particularly e-waste management for quite some time. And after that conversation, when we had an event in Delhi, ITU was kind enough to send a representative there. So I'm very happy to see the ITU representative also here. And this is a huge challenge for the entire world. So I'm so happy that AIBD and ITU have also joined hands here. And I hope this continues basically. So the picture here, and today I would like to address all of you, not just as broadcasters, as representative of broadcasting organizations, but also as individual consumers, because this is a picture which is which all of you must have seen in some corner of your office, in some landfill, and this is a crisis which is like growing exponentially, affecting the entire world. So today, through a very small presentation, I would like to just set the context. Then I'll invite other distinguished panelists to elaborate on this. So, what is the quantum of this crisis, and what exactly? How do you define this e-waste? So, UNITER, which is a nodal organization for this United Nations Institute for Training and Research, they define e-waste as discarded electrical and electronic equipment, something which has reached probably the end of its life cycle. And this is across 54 product types within 6 categories. And I'll briefly talk about these 6 categories in my next slide. But these are the things which all of you are very familiar with. And how do they calculate this? They calculate UNITER and ITU basically. They use a lifespan, a product lifespan model, and sort of project that through through some kind of mathematical model to come out with this kind of calculation. So this is a humongous challenge for the world. 63 million metric ton of e-waste was generated in calendar year 23, that is 2 years back. And within next few years, will reach 100 billion metric ton mark. This is also somewhat a recent crisis for the world, right? This has been going on for last 20-30 years or so. And just look at here, the second column. So out of this the 63 million metric ton, three-fourths of it, or 75% or so, it goes unrecycled. And this is what.
Excuse Anand, I think your slides are not getting advanced. If you could.
Okay, can you see it now?
No. Now we see you.
Can you share again, Mr. Anindya? And full screen after.
Yeah. Just a second. Can you share it now? Say it now?
Yes, we can see, and you can full screen the.
Yeah. Now it's okay. No.
Not yet. Not yet.
Okay, so I think the full screen is causing problem. So
okay, no problem.
Now you can see this.
Yes, we can see.
Okay, but is it also visible to all of you? I mean, is it too small or something?
A little bit small because the space is not fully utilized. If you press function F5, I think it should go to the full screen.
No, it is going full screen, but I think in full screen you are not able to see it, right?
Oh, right.
Can you see it now?
No.
Yeah, so that's the problem, I think.
It's okay.
So what I can do is that if you just give me a second. Can I just mail it to you, Nabil, and then you can try to play it from your end?
Sure, Mr. Anindya, you can forward to Nabil.
Yeah. Yes, please. You can forward it to me.
Yeah, let me do that. Just give me a second.
Are you emailing me or WhatsApping me?
Yeah, I'm just emailing you.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, just a second.
Okay.
Have you got it?
Not yet.
So please check.
Sure. Okay. Okay. So meanwhile, I'll just receive your thing. Maybe you can also let us know that what are the recent initiatives you are doing for
Right,
this.
right. I'll talk. I'll start
Yeah.
the talking.
So and then I'll as soon as I receive this.
Sure, sure. I think it must have gone to you. Just please check again, refresh it again. So,
Sure, sure.
anyway, so what I was talking about it is that, this crisis is quite recent, basically. In last 20, 30 years, it has started affecting us. That's why today, around 80 countries across the world, they have got regulation to, regulate this e-waste crisis. This started sometime in early 1990s when some of the first regulations came into being. So my limited point here is that we are generating a huge amount of e-waste, which is growing exponentially. Yet the regulation, etc., are yet to catch up. And the main problem is that 75% of this e-waste, we are not treating it today. As we are not treating it, not able to recycle it, that is causing a lot of problem. Uh, Nabil, have you got it now?
Yes, exactly. And I am about to share.
Right. So I mentioned that there are six broad categories of e-waste. So which are those six categories? So the first category is that of temperature exchange items, which are basically our fridges, refrigerators, air conditioners, and for cold climates where Dr. Amal is there, for heat pumps, that kind of stuff. Then the second, thank you so much, Nabil. Thank you. So the second category is basically all the screens, TVs, monitors, laptops. This categorization is from Global E-Waste Monitor, by the way. The third category is different lamps, LEDs, fluorescent lamps, high density lamps. Some of these which we use in our studio setup. Then the fourth category is that of large equipments. I've mentioned here what are the common equipments like washing machine, dishwashers, or solar photovoltaic cells. But a lot of transmission broadcasting equipments will also come under this category. Then small equipments. These are mostly household equipments, but something like a video camera from broadcasting setup that will also come under this category. And the last one is the small IT, the consumer electronics item, basically mobile phones, pocket calculators, small printers, etc. Uh, Next slide, please. So I was part of a US study recently, which looked at Indian scenario, and for that we actually compressed these six categories into four categories. So if you look at this slide carefully, the heat exchange items and the consumer electronics items, these two are the biggest categories here. These are the fastest growing categories rather. So how first, and I think this is a India specific scenario, but I think this applies to most of the developing countries. That because and also heat temperature exchange items are growing because of climate change. So overall annual growth rate in US globally is around 5%. But for consumer electronics, as we all can see the number of mobile phones, etc., we are using. Sorry, can you just make it full screen? This slide, please. The current slide. So the heat exchange and consumer electronics items. Yeah, thanks. Thank you. So this heat exchange and consumer electronics item, the first and the last one here in this column, these are growing at 10% in India. And I think that would be the case in most developing countries as well. Next slide, please. So again, this is a selective picture, but the picture, which is the importance of it, again would be applicable to most developing countries. So look at a mature market like USA or UK. So what is happening that US line, if you can just track the third line from top, and the UK line, which is the bottom second from the bottom one. So these have more or less flatlined. So these are like, sort of steady, mature market. They're generating a lot of e-waste, but the line is flat. I mean, it's not growing exponential. But in China, which is growing at a very rapid speed, particularly in terms of data transformation, you see how the e-waste is growing. That is the red line. That's the second line from top. And also look at India, the green line. So very soon, in a few years' time, India is going to overtake US. India is currently the third largest e-waste generator in the world. It's very soon going to overtake in next few years, going to overtake USA. Indonesia, on the other hand, has already overtaken UK. So the developing countries, because the rising income, rising data transformation, also because of climate change, we are using much more, of this consumer electronics and heat exchange items, etc. And subsequently, our e-waste is also growing exponentially. Next slide, please. So this is what happens in India and mostly across developing countries. 70% of our e-waste comes from households and 30% comes from businesses. So our broadcasting e-waste would find its place in this 30% in the business category. Next slide, please. So India generates 3.8 million metric ton of e-waste. You know the economic value of it. It's a staggering $6 billion US if you can recover the economic value of it. Problem is that, as I showed you the first slide, that 75% of it is not recycled. That mostly applies to India also. And a lot of it, the 40% of it, the one here, just if you look at the bottom column, the black and white portion, 40% we are not in a position to recover because of technological backwardness, etc. Whereas in countries like Germany or Netherlands, they would be able to recover 90-95% of the value. Why it happens? Next slide, please. Why it happens is that, next slide, please. Because mainly in India, Indonesia, and a lot of developing countries, yeah. So there's no need to get into the full picture, but this gives you a broad picture. The broad problem is that most of our e-waste is processed, just like the regular waste is being processed by informal sector. Informal sector workers process this under very hazardous condition. They do not have the right technology to recover the full economic value of it. This doesn't happen in mature countries like US or UK. This is a more of a developing country specific challenge. And because that happens, a lot of environmental and health problems happen. Next slide, please. So what is the problem with e-waste? I mean, so far I've been telling you that the quantity of this crisis, but why this is a crisis? What sort of problem it poses to you and me? So if we leave e-waste out in the open, as in the garbage dump, etc., as the first picture I showed you, it leaches toxic chemicals and heavy metals to soil and water. That contaminated soil and water, that finds its way back to our health, human and animal health. And when the informal sector guys, they sort of try to dispose e-waste, many a times they simply burn it. They burn it so that the not so important things will burn into ashes, and they will be able to recover gold or other precious metal. That releases toxic fumes in air, and very often it also catches fire, this kind of waste, if you leave out in the open. So that causes very severe air pollution and respiratory problem. That sort of heavy metal, lead, mercury, etc., and certain chemicals, if they find their way into our body, it can cause a set of very serious health issues, including neurological damages in children. It can affect your kidney and reproductive system. And if those toxic fumes, if released in air, that causes very severe respiratory problems. So the informal sector workers, who are normally very poor and marginalized, forced to work in such unhygienic, unhealthy conditions, they are the first, they get affected first and very badly affected. And in that process, they end up contaminating our ecosystem, and that affects all of us. So a significant amount of this e-waste either goes unrecycled, or it's not recycled properly. It's being recycled in sort of informal sector. So this is the main challenge, and because of that, that affects our ecosystem and that affects our health. So proper recycling would bring a lot of environmental benefit, and also would bring a lot of economic benefit. As I just mentioned just one slide back, that India can actually recover up to $6 billion of economic value out of its e-waste. but you are not able to do anywhere more than 10-20% because it is being processed in an unscientific way, right? That would be the case in, I mean, the percentages may vary, but that would be the mostly the case across developing world. Next slide, please. So that was the general e-waste scenario. But what about e-waste in broadcasting? As I mentioned, I have many distinguished speakers after me. They will get into the details of it, but I just wanted to set the context here. So many years back, when I first entered All India Radio building, so between two buildings there was a courtyard, and it had a huge mobile broadcasting van, which I think was used sometime in 1980s or early 1990s. So it was lying defunct there, and huge satellite dishes. So it used to look like a, to me it used to look like a mountain of metals, rustic metals. So I think that kind of, I hope those are gone today, but I think that in many broadcasting organizations, in a room or in some courtyard, that kind of that kind of scrap would be stashed even today. So what sort of e-waste we typically get in broadcasting? There are basically four categories: studio equipment, transmission infrastructure, monitoring and control systems, and ancillary devices like your computers, office electronics, etc. But how much and what types of e-waste you are generating as a broadcasting organization, that depends on what kind of broadcasting organization you are. If you are a large broadcasting organization with a good amount of budget and many priorities, then probably you will be upgrading your systems quite frequently. But if you're a small organization, then probably you will be upgrading your studio or transmission setup once in 7-8 years. Now, what happens with your and my laptop? If you talk about a middle-aged professional, then we typically use our personal laptop for 3-4 years. If it gives us some problem, we try to get it repaired. Then only we exchange it. But for our office laptop, after 2 years, we get it replaced regularly, right? So in that case, in the first case, we are reaching almost the end of its lifespan. But in the second case, in terms of our office laptop, we're discarding it quite early. So it gets some sort of refurbishment, and then it gets sold to some other person. What happens in terms of broadcasting equipment is that these do not necessarily reach their end of life in most organizations. They are replaced because we are basically looking for some technology upgradation, etc. So that's the broadcasting US scenario. My last 3 points, they remain valid for you as an individual consumer as well as a broadcaster. Always try to explore possibilities of refurbishment or exchange before you discard an electronics item. And you know what happens in a typical middle class Indian household, and I guess this happens in many places across the world. You will find a box, you will find a drawer, cupboard somewhere where all our words, discarded chargers, discarded mobile phones, keyboards, these are stashed. These are hoarded. These are never disposed properly. Uh, but I think there's no point actually hoarding it like that. That somehow creates some problem someday. It's best to dispose it of responsibly. So these 3 points: explore possibilities of refurbishment, exchange, please do not hoard, and responsible disposal. This apply to us as individual as broadcasting organization. Last slide, please. As I end my presentation, I would urge all of you as individuals, as broadcasting organization, to please go for refurbishment and then responsible disposal. And I hope AIBD will continue this initiative. Thank you very much. And with this, may I also invite my good friend and my next speaker, Dr. Amal, to take the stage. Yeah, sorry, Nabil, you are there. So please, you continue to moderate.
You are the moderator of the show still. And Mr. Ipang, if you can share the slide of Dr. Amal, although everyone knows Dr. Amal. But still.
Yes, he doesn't require any introduction, but still, Dr. Amal is from New Zealand. He is an ICT and broadcast consultant and trainer and advisor. He's a very highly experienced engineer and researcher in broadcasting, academia, and industry. We all have benefited from his wise advice. With over 35 years of experience, he inspires innovation in media technology and advocates for technical guidelines and standards. Dr. Amal is a chartered professional engineer, fellow of IIT, the UK, and a senior member of IEEE USA, and a distinguished lecturer of IEEE Broadcast Technology Society. Dr. Amal, a warm welcome to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your kind introduction. Let me share my presentation. Can you see my presentation? Do you see that full screen?
Yes, Dr. Amal, this one is not full screen.
Yeah, okay, let me see. Now it's full screen?
Yes.
All
Yes.
right. Yeah. Thank you so much, Anindya, for the kind introduction, and welcome to the webinar. And so what I'm going to talk about in my time is the broadcaster's responsibility in managing the e-waste. So the moderator, the first presenter, Mr. Anindya Sengupta, gave a sort of a good foundation for us to look at why we want to talk about this topic. And so what I'm going to talk about is I'm going to give a little bit of a background. I can do it pretty quick because we have a good foundation with the first presentation. And also for the context of my discussion, I established e-waste because we are looking at e-waste for broadcasting and for media operations. And then I talk about little bit about the standards, best practices, some guidelines, and also policies. Prior to this formal start, we had an informal chat, and it came up national policies. So I'm linking to that, and then the regulation that happens to legislations. And then I think what is very important for today's webinar and our discussion is about the strategies. So that's why I think the AIBD Nabil has put this into the title as looking at what are the strategies we need to look at. And then I will conclude my presentation with some immediate action we need to act on. So on the side of those texts, you will see some pictures, the pictures about the enormity of this e-waste, which are growing over the years. So in the title, we talk about e-waste management and then the sustained production strategies for broadcasters. So I'm more focusing on the e-waste management for broadcast side. The production side, we have Siddharth talking about that later, and also about some of the monitors. I'm sure Harshita will talk about that from the ITU side. So I will make only point as to those things. But also, Nabil said we cannot build a world with e-waste pile when we are talking about future of broadcasting. So we need to, while we are upgrading technology, we also responsible not to grow this e-waste because it got some economic value. Not only that, but if you don't manage that well, I think the first presentation really explained the health issues it can cause and the other environmental damages it could cause from the toxic material that it is carrying. So, we have been talking about for a long time the plastic, the pollution that the plastic makes into our environment, into to the land, and not only to the land but also to the sea and the ecosystem, both in land and in the water, how it is polluting. And we have globally we have made a lot of effort in this area, and then we have produced some mitigating strategies, bringing in policies and legislation and regulation. So now we try to use less plastic. There are no plastic bags. Sometimes when you go to a supermarket, you find only the paper bags, and then whatever the plastic that we use due to health concern, because if it is some food like meat or fish, they need to properly wrap and package. So then we use the more recyclable plastic, which can be reused. So that will not pollute, but it cannot be recycled unless you put that into a special recycling process. If you burn it, like it was mentioned, it will create toxic gas, and it create ill effects for the health of the society, the community. And also, if you put to the landfill, it will not degrade. And also, I'm sure Harshita from ITU may talk a little bit about the circular economy as well in all this work, because as we are implementing the ITU e-waste monitor. So the question is, from the broadcast point of view, so how about we are managing this, like the plastic we have been doing, the e-waste that we generate in the broadcast and the media industry, because we cannot avoid the e-waste getting generated, because we need to bring new technologies, and when these devices when they really come to the end of its useful life cycle, we need to dispose them. But that does not mean that to burn or to put to the landfill. But we can, especially in a time like this, we can extract a lot of economic value from the precious metal, like not only gold, but many other metal, rather than getting from iron ore, the iron or those metals. Why not we have already in the form of metal, then process that and obtain those things. And also another important thing I want to mention is that we are looking at this in the context of sustainability in broadcasting. As it was mentioned in the first presentation, we have been leading this in the Asia Pacific region for now nearly close to 5 years. Because we presented firstly this concept in India during our general conference, and since then we have been building. So that's why we have this annual webinar, and then also a lot of other discussions or events happening in our other events. So we need to understand like when we talk about the broadcast involve a chain of action, right? So we see at least the 7 blocks doing some work just before the content or the visuals or the audio is consumed. So all of these players in this value chain will produce this e-waste. So I'm sure Siddharth will talk a lot about, especially the production side, and I will generally talk about the rest of the blocks in this value chain, but also giving very special emphasis for the last one, which is the consumer. Because as the audience, we use television, we use today not only the television, but also the mobile phones to consume media, right? So this e-waste for the broadcast will come from any decommission. That just means we cannot use that anymore. So that will be put to that cannot be used kind of a label. And then this could happen from any of the stakeholders. So I have listed either could be a broadcasters, manufacturers, distributors, or system architect, designers, integrators, or installers. So they all deal with this thing. So there has to be some mechanism to mitigate this buildup of this one. And it is not that's going to end there, because now we could see in the broadcasting sector, the television receivers are coming up very frequently into the market, and they tend to, like people are changing mobile phones, they tend to change the phone, sometimes even while they are having some useful life. So this, what's called the customer premises equipment, or the people used to consume this content, the broadcast content, are now sort of disposed very early. But that should be done in a more responsible manner. So that's why we need to have some policies and regulations. And there are some standards how to do that. Because if you look at the ITUT, which is the telecommunication sector, they have come up with a number of standards, these L standards, 30, 31, 32, 33, 36, supplementary 27, and so on, which talk about this e-waste management framework for various countries. And there are best practices, because so there's a best practice that was published in 2022 by the European Broadcasting Union. That's an organization with whom AIBD closely collaborates, especially in the sustainability areas. And they published what's called a technical recommendation on green production, waste guide for the broadcasters. That's a strategic report. So they talk about, like in production, how the e-waste can be managed so that the production will be a green production. And also there are other guidelines the countries may have. So the national and broadcast policy frameworks in there coming through the sustainability and e-waste. So I want to come back to the top one, which I left until the last one to describe a little bit, which is about the policy. So the countries and the broadcasters should have some e-waste policies, which are integral part of their sustainability framework, their sustainability policy. So this is what we have been trying now for a number of years for our broadcasters to develop. And then sometimes you cannot do everything by best practices or guidelines, because even the ITU standards are voluntarily to adopt, right? There is no compulsion to do that. But the countries can do that, because the ITU is a UN member organization. That's an apex body for that. And so being a member, they need to implement those standards through their legislation. So when, like as an example, in not very recent times, in 2008, when we made the transition from analog television to digital television, we noted that there will be a lot of television receivers that people will buy as new ones, and then they start dumping all the old television, especially the CRT one, cathode ray tube ones. And these are, they do carry a lot of toxic material. So the legislation brought that the Waste Minimization Act 2008, so the people cannot just dump that into a landfill or give it to the general waste collection. That need to be given to a recycler. So they give a grace period for people to do that. If they haven't done that lately, they had to pay a little fee and then go and need to dispose. But today there are like still organizations which are collecting this e-waste voluntarily through these mechanisms, because this has been embedded into the ecosystem. So now I'd like to elaborate very quickly, like 3 stages in strategies. So the strategies should work like the extension of useful lifetime. So we should not tend to just throw away electronic items, but we will try to extend its useful lifetime, so that we are not piling up a lot of e-waste while they are having a useful life. Because every time when we want to build a new device, we need to sort of impact the carbon footprint. So we should not do that. So that's why we should try to do first step as try to repair it. And if not, and then having done the repair, try to reuse it. And if you cannot repair and reuse it, then you must explore what components can be reused by recycling. So like it was mentioned, it has to be done through a formal recycling process. So it's not just a burn and try to get the metal. No, it's separate parts now in developed countries, or even in developing countries. Some of the different components are used to build house build material, and then the metals are extracted separately. So that's how it is happening. And if you look at the mobile phone, as I mentioned to you, the mobile phone is an important part in the broadcasting today because people do consume content. And as we are developing the standard definition to high definition and ultra high, and that when we are bringing more high quality, so the user device demands more processing power, more memory. So the people tend to throw away some of these components. So they should not just do that. Should be able to try recycled components, or if we have to manufacture those things, we need to try doing that with low-waste manufacturing. And also there are in countries, even in developed countries, the smartphone trading. So so when you want to buy a new one while you're having a working phone, you can trade in. So you get some money back, and then you can put towards buying the new one, because they can refurbish that phone and resell to someone else. And then they go as certified pre-owned programs, pre-owned devices. And also, very important point that I wanted to tell today was about the repairability, because as the technology was developing, people tend to use electronic like a very disposable thing. They use for little time and try to throw it away. But if you talk to your grandparents, your parents, they would say, "Oh, I've been using this for many, many years." Because those days the equipment can be repaired. We know how to repair. The manufacturer give more support for that, the circuitry available. Now there are legislation coming up. So you could see here, I said, and now in New Zealand, there is a bill before the parliament to introduce what's called the repairability for the product. And already the industry is responding to some of these challenges, and to make sure that the impact on the environment or the health can be mitigated by processing this e-waste. So there shouldn't be any dumping this into the landfill, so they need to be into the proper centers. So this diagram you see here, I captured today. So there are so many locations in New Zealand, both islands, where you can go to these places, and there are a list of electronic items. So you can go and hand over to them. They will not charge, and they will make sure that they are properly recycled. And so the idea should be to look at the ability to repair, the repairability, and trading and overhaul and those things. And I just want to tell, this is not only limited to small items. This is a very massive items, because I live in a regional city, and I've been living here now nearly 24 years. So this was commissioned in 2006, which is the first wind farm, which was nearly coming to an end of its lifetime. So what they did was, rather than scrapping it, so they extended its lifetime by 5 years by overhauling it at one. So that's a good thing. And also at the end of 5 years, they have now planned, so when it reaches its end by 2030, they will be using those blades because they are all mostly made out of fiber. And they will be used for making windsurfing boards. So surfing boards. So I would like to end my presentation reminding all the stakeholders in the broadcast industry. So it's not just limited to the broadcasters, but also everybody playing a role, like a manufacturers, because manufacturers would love to produce something and sell it. But before that, they should make sure that the repairability and then lesser impact on the environment. So ability to refurbish that one, and also to partner with e-waste recycling programs to responsibly do that. Because when I was having an informal chat with a person, someone said, "Oh, sometimes in the past, people used to, the countries used to, when they are changing technologies, give all that old devices to some other country." So it's kind of in today's term, it's dumping and should not be done because then they are burdened with how to handle that one. And also need to provide guideline to stakeholders. So I think this will be the main starting point for educating on e-waste, which is embedded into our sustainability work that the AIBD has been doing. So we will be doing education and training to make sure that all the stakeholders in the broadcasting, as well as in any sector, because as a broadcaster, we are concerned about the environment, the climate. So therefore, one of the responsibility through journalism, we will communicate into everyone. So with that, I'll hand back to you, Aninda. Thank you very much. Thank you for your patience listening.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Amal. Thank you for a very insightful presentation. And I think you have very rightly highlighted the importance of right to repair, which is coming into effect in many countries, and hopefully it will come to India also very soon. Right to repair, importance of refurbishment and recycling. So these are some of the key elements. And yes, you did mention about the dumping of e-waste, which is happening from advanced nations towards developing nations. That is also something we should try to avoid to the extent possible. Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Amal. And with this, I would like to invite our next speaker, Mr. Ian MacDonald. Ian is from Canada. He was born and raised in Alberta. He is a community media specialist. He then arguably matured in the Yukon, which is in Canada's northwestern corner. Ian helps to manage computers for schools, Yukon, where they train young technicians to refurbish used computer equipment for sale to organizations like CJUC Radio in Whitehorse. Ian, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I don't have slides, unfortunately, so I don't fit in that way. I might be able to, I don't know, entertain and distract with my pen spinning. No, I won't do that. So as that introduction slide said, my name is Ian MacDonald. I work as one of the managers at Computers for Schools Yukon in Northern Canada. Ben, my other manager, is a tech genius and he couldn't make it, so you get me, the pretty face. We work in training young intern technicians in refurbishment of used computer equipment, so it seems we do fit in fairly well in this talk. We also help supply the equipment needs of organizations like CJUC Radio here in Whitehorse for Rob Hopkins, who will be speaking in a while, and his partner, Bill Polonsky, because like the geniuses they are, they save money with our fixed up computers and devices. So a little about our shop. So we accept computer donations from the general public, but it's mostly from the federal government and the territorial government. They do tend to buy the better devices. And then we make it the highest priority to ensure that all the personal data is overwritten confidentially. So we have a big server called a Destroyinator. That's the brand name. And we slot in like 30 drives, and it's just an anonymous progress bar over every drive as it gets overwritten. Our main mandate is to breathe new life into used computers so that the devices can have an impact in our community among people who otherwise might not be able to afford them or simply prefer the more environmental route of sourcing from us instead of buying brand new. And unfortunately, we're only allowed to sell within the Yukon territory of Northern Canada. So you can rest assured knowing that this isn't a sales pitch and it won't cost you anything. So for us, reuse of electronics is far more valuable than recycling. We do recycle. We just want to make sure that we squeeze every ounce of reuse out of that device before it gets to that point. An interesting note is that here in the Yukon, it's legislated that no computers go to the landfill. I'm under no illusion. There's going to be some that still make it in there. There was one guy that said, what if I just stuff mine in a garbage bag? What then? It's, well, I guess it goes to the landfill, but we encourage not, especially when you have resources like us. It takes a lot of energy to make new computers. And then most people who buy new computers don't even need the full potential of the fastest processors out there. They end up buying a top of the line computer to scroll Facebook and watch cat videos. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you don't need the fastest processor for that. Right now, a lot of people around the world are obviously experiencing economies where money is tight. So it's nice to be able to stretch that resource to go further. And in our refurbishment of these computers, a new solid state drive instead of a hard drive installed on an older computer is far cheaper than buying a whole new machine. In our mission to fix computers and sell them at a discounted price, Linux as an operating system is a powerful tool. Some of you may be users of Linux, but this will be a good introduction if not. So we do use Windows as well, but they're increasingly making decisions that hurt our ability to offer our computers. So with Windows 11 and Windows 10 ending here in October 25, unfortunately, a majority of our computer inventory won't be able to run Windows anymore, just kind of arbitrarily. So that's when Linux really kicks in for us. So I'm not getting paid any money from Linux because it's free to use and edit and customize. So there's no sponsorship here. I'm just a fan. It's highly customizable for one thing. There's hundreds of versions to start from. So if whatever your needs are, you can find a good base to build from. It's significantly more secure, partially because it holds currently such a small portion of the work and home computer market share. I think it's 3 to 4%. It kind of fluctuates. Microsoft and Microsoft Windows and Mac OS hold the majority of the market share, but they're cookie cutter, meaning that as a software package, it's going to be the same across all the computers, and that has some security downside. The variation in Linux helps with its immunity to common security problems. It can run really light on computer hardware. So the install file is something like 16 or 20 gigabytes and can run live on a USB stick to try it out. So you don't even have to install it. You just plug it in, boot to the stick, and it'll work. But with it running so light, it can extend the life of devices that are quite a bit older that you might be working on, or might have shelved and it might be collecting dust. So for everyone here, though, the best strengths for Linux are that it can be consistent. So you and your staff aren't needing to learn the quirks of a new operating system every few years. Linux has a lot more uptime potential. So you rarely need to reboot the computer after updates. They can just happen on the fly. This is actually a big part of why Linux holds the vast majority of market share when it comes to server equipment. So if you go to a website out there, chances are it's going to be on Linux just because it can stay up. Um, so there's none of the monthly or yearly license fees to budget in either, because it is free to use. Lastly, and most importantly, regarding the subject matter being discussed here, Linux can run on computers that have long been forgotten by Microsoft and Apple. So we have computers older than 10 years old in our inventory that are still very useful for people, especially when paired with a solid state drive to run the OS. So if you're interested in trying it out, like I said before, you could put it on a USB and boot into it just to try it out. There's no installation needed. I wouldn't recommend just throwing it on your production machines. You can also virtualize Linux. So if you're not familiar with that, there's software like VirtualBox, which is also free, and it can run on your host system, so on Windows or Mac, and you can run Linux as a separate computer just in a window off to the side to give it a try. So that went a lot quicker than I thought, but hopefully there will be some good questions. I'm all done.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Jan. And I think it's close to midnight at your place. So thanks a lot for staying up and sharing your experience with us. So two quick questions from my end. One, do you have any example of what you have been talking about, this refurbishment, etc.? How it has helped the lifespan of any community media station, any community media service or station, something. Do you have any example of that? Can you please share that with us? And also, how the principle of reuse before recycling, that really works in your daily operation, in your daily experience. So
Okay. Oh, there we go. Yeah, first, you were asking about how we've been able to help the local radio station I had mentioned.
yeah.
So actually, recently, Bill came by. They use iPads for their sound mixing, and we had some old sixth gen iPads available. We put them on sale for $50 Canadian. Normally, we were selling them for 100, which is still pretty cheap. So he bought a couple, and he'll be able to use those for quite a while, it sounds like. There's no need for a brand new device in that situation. And then otherwise, they've been using desktops from us, running Linux. As far as I know, we give them with Linux anyway. And they've really, well, actually, Rob, I don't want to take his thunder, but he'll probably be talking about his open source software that runs with Linux. And what was the second part of your question again?
Right. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. So basically, I wanted to know that how in your daily experience, daily operation, how the principle of reuse before recycling, how you see that. Do you try to tell people that the machines need to be reused, could be refurbished, could be repaired before you actually go for recycling? How do you see that in your own experience daily?
Okay. Yeah, that's where our organization shines. We're a non-for-profit. We're funded by a federal government contract and run underneath Raven Recenter, which is our community recycling organization. So we have no pressure to upsell people. So if someone comes in with their old computer, rather than trying to sell them one of ours, we'll give them advice on how to fix up theirs. we educate people as well where our recycling is going to go. So in our case, it goes down to Edmonton, and they have a massive facility that mechanically separates all the different components, separates the plastics off, and that kind of thing. And I'm told that it's more economical and um, better financially than mining in the first place because all of the minerals are already processed and refined. So it's a lot easier to reuse those.
Absolutely. So the education is the key, as Dr. Amala has also mentioned in his presentation, and that's becoming very, quite challenging to communicate it to people, that to make them understand these points. Yeah. Right. Thanks a lot, Ian. I know it's quite late, but we would appreciate if you can stay back for some more time. We'd like to have a group photo at the end of all presentations. I think that will take another half an hour for you to stay awake, maybe.
I'll be happy to.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ian. Thanks. We'll come back if there are more questions. Now, I would like to invite next speaker, Siddharth Nakai. Siddharth is, of course, the founder of and sustainability consultant of Graining Advertising Media, GEM, which is a game which he has founded here in India. He promotes health, sustainability, and safety on set, on film and television production set through industry dialogue, transformative changes. Siddharth's specialties include sustainability consulting, film marketing and distribution, marketing research, brand management, data analytics, and health and safety. Siddharth, can't see you, Siddharth. Mr. Yipang, is Siddharth here?
Yes, let me put him. Let me
Hello. Hi.
just a minute.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can hear you, but can't see you, Siddharth.
Can you see me?
Just a minute. Okay.
Yes, Siddharth. Now we can see you finally.
Yes, good to see you again. After a long time. Yep.
Please go on, Siddharth. Please go on. It's all yours.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me here. So I'll just like to touch base on how we spoke about, I think, e-waste from an holistic broadcaster's perspective, but from a aspect of how production happens, there's a lot of waste, etc., that is generated during the entire filming process, whether it is for any broadcasting company or whether it is for any OTT platform as well. So I want to focus on those particular aspects. I'll just like to share my screen. Second. So we started on this journey almost 8-9 years back, where our whole thought process was where how we can improve the entire production value system, right from pre-production aspect to production aspect till the final release of any particular whether it's a TV show or a OTT show, etc. So entire value chain we try to map and figure out what are the key areas where we can make a positive environmental impact, whether it is if you look at sustainability from a holistic lens, where it includes your health and safety, where it includes your waste that is produced on set, whether it is looking at mapping carbon footprint of all different types of productions, etc. So if you look at the entire value chain, there is a significant impact and resources that we consume to produce any piece of content. Yep. So we call ourselves game, where we talk about how we can protect people, planet, and proper from an environmental aspect. So we divide our services into three core categories, where how basically it's about creating impact at each phase of the production cycle, this pre-production, production, wrap, and post-production. So from an health and safety aspect, we look at it from an overall aspect of how people are producing content, if they're how people are building sets, when they're using different types of resources to build sets. So all these aspects are taken care of in terms of how people are working while building sets, how people should wear their respective PPEs, while building sets, etc. So all these aspects, there are no particular regulations, when it governs the Indian media and entertainment landscape. So basically incorporating this aspect really helps in creating a new form of culture in terms of how content is produced. When we look at sustainability aspect, we look at basic waste segregation on set. Usually when we shoot, it's not always in a studio. We shoot many times outdoors. Many times we shoot in sensitive locations as well. So how do we ensure that we leave the location as it is, as we picked it up? So that's where we try to sensitize crew members across different aspects. And the last aspect is asset management, where large portion of it would of course include electronic waste as well, where the production purchases lot of materials while filming, and once their filming is done, they would generally tend to let go of almost all the elements which are of no use to them. So we ensure that all these elements are accounted for, whether it is TVs, mobiles, whether it's laptops, all these equipments, apart from a large portion of costumes, etc. That they purchase throughout the value chain, how we can recycle it or repurpose it during the entire aspect of the production cycle. So yeah. So from a sustainability aspect, we focus on waste management, as I mentioned. Then we also look at carbon accounting. When we look at the entire value chain, there is a significant environmental impact that the production would have. So if you consider, say even if a typical 200 people or a 150 people crew, if they're shooting outdoors, there's so much travel involved, there are flights involved, rail travel involved. There's fuel involved in terms of the generators that we use to produce content. How do we map the consumption of that? There are local cars which are hired, where they are used to transport the crew from one place to another. Electricity that is used during the venue. Hotels and housing, people are staying. If it's an outdoor shoot, the entire crew, 150 crew, odd people crew, are staying in different locations, in different type categories of hotels. So all these data points, are we are able to map and arrive at what is the environmental impact of production. And large part of our work is around culture building, because we are still at a nascent stage where people who are working on the ground are not fully aware about different environmental impacts that happen through a production. A lot of the crew members need sensitization time and time again to ensure that they reduce wastage and support the initiative throughout the value chain. So right from simple things like, say, donating of leftover food, because there are almost 3 to 4 meals that are served in a single day. If you are looking at a 12 to 14 hour work day, you would have 3 to 4 different meals. Plus how we can maximize reduction of wastage, that would be our first priority. But in case there is leftover, etc., how we can make the best use of that, to those aspects really help us. Second aspect would be from a community standpoint, sorry, where we try to see how we can make a positive impact at every location we shoot. So sometimes we end up in sensitive locations where we are filming. So how can we give back to that location? So there are many instances where we've actually looked at what is the native requirement of those locations, and which helps in the biodiversity, improving the biodiversity of those regions. We ended up planting grasslands in a location in Uti, which is in southern part of India. We in fact ended up when we were shooting in a remote location where we didn't have access to, proper toilets, etc. So we ended up building our own toilet for the crew, which we, gave away to the crew, to the local people there who are now using it. So such type of, community impact actually helps us in, looking at end-to-end, end-to-end creating a positive impact to the environment. Certain simple measures that we generally tend to use, right, generally tend to digitize our workflow, but still we end up printing a lot of stuff. So we sometimes we use eco fonts, which drastically reduces the ink usage. We understand that there's rampant use of tissues on any sets. So, right from, from a makeup perspective to, as I mentioned, there are 4 meals almost served in a day. So if there are tissues which are used by, almost 150 to 200 crew, we would at least end up, using 1,000 odd tissues in a single day. And generally people tend to use 2 or 3 tissues, with every meal. So we try to see how we can reduce the usage of tissues altogether, and only restrict it to certain critical areas, like say makeup, etc., where, we can't avoid for certain times. Plus, there are now good alternatives available than for the conventional tissues. So we try to use that as well. Waste segregation, again, a very difficult thing to execute on ground because it's so much. It's a very mobile locations, and we try our best to ensure how we can segregate waste on ground. Plastic bottles, we try to reduce a lot. We throughout we it's a simple thing now, but still it's very difficult to execute, where there is still apprehensions from people of using, like they don't know whether if you give them a reusable bottle, whether the water is good, etc. There's still apprehensions, and we'll have to continuously, tell them that okay, this is the impact, positive impact that you can create by doing this simple switch. This same thing that you would generally use at your own house. So we want to make them that if you call the set like your house, then we want you to follow those same principles that you follow at your house. uh, Batteries, again, an e-waste, but a very important component of, for sound recording. We end up using tremendous amount of batteries if they are not rechargeable, and again categorized as chemical waste. We generally tend to throw it after a single use. So, as far as possible, we encourage people to use rechargeable batteries, which helps us saving so many batteries going to landfill. But again, people do face apprehensions. What if, when we generally mic up the actors, etc., they don't usually want to be disturbed after, at the start of the day when you mic them up. You don't want them to be disturbed till the shoot is wrapped. Sometimes what happens is that, sound recorders would complain that, okay, we would need to remove your, remove your battery pack and again refill it, etc. So these kind of issues happen, but we have to tell them that it's okay sometimes if it happens. Then what we are achieving at the end of the day is what, it counts. So we try to bring this cultural and empowerment is very important to execute things like this. So again and again, that reinforcement is very critical. Now, again, from an environmental impact, we celebrate a veg day once a week, in all our shows, uh, wherever possible. There is always hesitancy for people to, do this. We need to provide them lot of, validations that okay, this is actually beneficial, etc. And in India, there is generally a tradition where once a week people tend to be vegetarians. So we try to club that, with this initiative. So at least there is little less resistance from people. So such type of turnarounds, we try to follow and see how we can make a positive impact on the set. Yeah. Apart from that, the one major thing that we focus from sustainability aspect is how we can create a impact from the storytelling aspect. Since as media and entertainment organizations, the largest impact actually we can create uh, for sustainability or environment is to the content that we produce. So how we can create a structured pathway where we try to integrate sustainability within our content and without even obstructing the creative workflow or the message that we're trying to communicate. So we started this structured initiative where we look at different causes which are critical, especially from an Indian subcontinent perspective, and how within stories we integrate in these aspects without creating a major impact from a storyline perspective. There have been instances where we've not been able to do it from dialogue perspective. So what we thought is just we adopt a wall within the location that we go, and we shoot the scene say beside this wall. So this is basically a water conservation message, that has been printed in one of the walls where we were shooting. So now this will be part of the film maybe for 2 to 3, 4 seconds, but that impact that we'll create through this would be a lasting impact. Likewise, there are so many examples around this that we have done. I think one major impact that we actually created was through filming of like India's version of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, where we had the anchor who's one of the top influencers in India, is Mr. Amitabh Bachchan, where through him we created a integration message in the show where the concept was that we for every wrong answer a contestant gives, the broadcaster, in this case Sony, would plant say 100 trees. So that reinforcement was happening throughout the value chain of the initiative, and we were able to plant 3,000 odd trees, and but the impact that it created to our viewers was immense. So such type of integrations that we're trying to do basically helps us have an entirety to the sustainability initiative. It's not just on the set, but it is also influencing the minds of people through content. So helps us basically create this initiative in a more 360-degree manner. Yeah, so I think that I would end it at there, where just gives you a context in terms of how we take up sustainability as a whole.
Thank you, Siddhartha. You not only you touched upon all aspects of sustainability in production. Thank you so much. We'll come back to you later for questions.
Sure.
May I now invite the next speaker, Mr. Rob Hopkins. He's from Raspberry Pi Broadcaster Canada. Radio Rob Hopkins is a communications pilot with a mission to keep our airwaves accessible. But the trouble is, he is an analog guy. He is an analog guy in a digital world, fighting for the public's right to something they likely don't even want. So Rob is many things. He is an ex-hobo and a self-taught broadcast engineer, a scavenger who built a working telephone system from other people's junk, and an advocate of over-the-ear technologies who collects CRTC licenses like hockey cards. He's so enthusiastic that he has even developed his own software to make analog broadcasting easier. Rob, I can't see you yet, but Mr. Ipan, we need your help again to bring Rob to the center stage.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. I cannot get my camera to work here. It's not working.
We can just hear you. Can't see you, Rob.
Oh, geez, what the heck's going on? My camera's not working. Anyhow, we're just going to jump right through this. Sorry there, folks. Yeah, I keep trying to click on a button, but it will not bring my camera up. Hey, right on, everyone. Good to meet you. Good, and thanks AIBD for inviting myself and Ian to this webinar. Recycling computers, very dear to my heart. With some of this technology. I'm up in northern Canada. We're Ian and I. We live up beside Alaska. Right now, it's becoming springtime. It stays daylight till about 9:30 at night nowadays, way above zero. So it's starting to warm up a bit. So I've lived in a small community, 120 kilometers south of Whitehorse. The opportunities are very limited out here because of it's a small town. There's no industries here, so it's always a challenge. What you're going to do for employment. So years ago, I got into broadcasting, and I'm pretty well built a radio station from stuff from the landfill. Back in those days, I was building connectors and hooking up devices. I didn't even know what the devices were supposed to do or how the connectors worked. But anyhow, I set up a little radio station here, and part of that was always using recycled equipment. This is going way back. Big hard drives in those days were like 40 megabytes. Megabytes was a big hard drive in those days. I eventually helped other small community set up little radio stations. So I go around. I'm a lucky guy. I get to travel around. I go to small communities, indigenous communities, and I set up community radio stations. And a big part of what I do is using recycled computer equipment, using open source. So in Whitehorse, that's the capital city of the Yukon, we set up a community radio station, 20 years ago. And we started doing this using old recycled computer equipment. When we first set up, we still don't have any money for a budget. So in those days, I couldn't buy a new piece of computer gear. It was always secondhand. And we started using old Windows computers, but then what happened was the newer Windows operating systems wouldn't work on older gear. So in the community radio station in Whitehorse, CJUC, they have a website, cjucfm.com. We use some of the equipment that comes from Ian's program, Computer for Schools, which is a great program. It takes computers before they go get put into the landfill and get recycled, gives an opportunity to go out and be used in the community. So in CJUC, we use some of those computers for everything from file servers to playout boxes on the compute on the air chain firewalls. We've used those computers for every kind of part in the broadcast chain for running a radio station. One of the things that really does make things a little bit better now is we have SSD drives that can take an old computer and can make it run quite a bit faster with an operating system on it like that. So one of the cool things that happens with CJUC, typically, I don't know if I caught all of your stuff there, Ian, but the Yukon government, they'll buy like new Dell computers. They run them for like 3 years, and then they recycle them and upgrade their computers. The government really doesn't have to upgrade their computers. They're totally fine for what they're doing, which is just sending an email out or typing a letter. But anyhow, they get a new computer and they take these old computers and then they send them back to Ian's shop. And the first thing that Ian does before they get recycled or go out the door is it wipes all the hard drives to get rid of any important data. We don't want that floating around. So at CJUC, we usually upgrade our computer systems there every 3 years. It seems we get a new load of computer from Ian's shop for Computer for Schools, and we run Linux on all of those computers.
We can't hear you, Rob.
Mr. Anindya, I think he's lost
Yeah.
connection. I think
Is it possible to check with him? Shall we wait for one or
yes.
2 minutes?
Uh,
Or we move on to the next speaker?
we can move on to the next speaker while waiting for the Rob to connect.
Okay. Please. So yeah. So our next speaker is Harshita Mehta from ITU, Thailand. So ITU is one of the major stakeholders in global e-waste discussion. So it's great to have Harshita here. Harshita is an environment project support consultant at ITU's regional office for Asia and the Pacific, with over 8 years of progressive experience in sustainable development and environmental management. She specializes in circular economy approaches with a focus on electronic and plastic waste. She has contributed to several national and regional projects in this domain. Harshita, it's a pleasure having you here, and we hope to learn a lot of technical things from you. Over to you, Harshita.
Thank you, Anindya, for this kind introduction. I'll just share my screen. Just a second. Sorry, I'm having some issues.
Yeah, you are now sharing the presenter screen. Earlier, it came up correctly.
Earlier, we could see your full screen properly. So now it has gone back to presenter's screen.
Just a second. Sorry, I'll just
Yeah, no
change.
problem.
Is my screen visible?
Yes, it's visible, but it's like your presenter's screen, which is
Sorry.
visible. Yeah, now it's fine. Now it's fine.
Yeah,
Please go
sorry
ahead.
for this confusion. Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Harshita Mehta, and I work as an environmental project support consultant with the regional office in Bangkok. And today I'll be taking you through the Global E-Waste Monitor 2024 and also walk you through some of the key global trends and data points that are related to e-waste. Being the final speaker, some of the content might be a bit repetitive, but please bear with me. So just first a bit about the monitor itself. In 2014, the Global E-Waste Monitor has been the leading reference for tracking global e-waste challenge. And now in its fourth edition, it continues to be a key source for both policymakers and the industry, providing data on how much e-waste is being generated, how it's being managed, and also the progress in policy and regulation, and also the outlook for the future. So the 2024 edition has already been picked up by over 1,000 media outlets and has reached audiences in more than 80 countries and with 30 different languages. And just introducing you to the Global E-Waste Statistics Partnership. So this partnership was established in 2017 and is currently run by Unitar Cycle and ITU. So the Global E-Waste Statistics Partnership has three main goals. First, collecting global e-waste data across using a standardized internationally agreed methodology. Second is enhancing stakeholder understanding of the e-waste challenge through the use of data. And thirdly, improving data quality through capacity building efforts in various countries. So let's pause and reflect on where we stand globally when it comes to e-waste management. In 2022, the world generated a staggering 62 billion kilograms of e-waste. That's a 82% increase compared to 2010. And only 22.3% of that was formally collected and recycled in an environmentally sound manner. And despite growing awareness about health and environmental risks of improper e-waste handling and the clear benefits of a circular economy, many parts of the world still struggle with low collection rates and limited recycling infrastructure. So this implementation gap is especially evident in low and middle income countries where informal sector plays a major role in managing e-waste. So what are the key global trends we are seeing? So from 2010 to 2022, the amount of e-waste produced each year nearly doubled, outpacing the documented formal collection and recycling rate by a factor of almost 5. And this rise is being driven by a few factors. So that's rapid technological innovation, increased consumption, products that are harder to repair, shorter lifespans, and inadequate waste management systems in most of the regions. So many of the speakers have already covered the health and environmental impacts, but generally unmanaged e-waste directly affects both ecosystems and human health. So every year, about 58,000 kilograms of mercury and 45 million kilograms of plastics with brominated flame retardants are released into the environment due to improper e-waste disposal. So these are highly toxic substances. And when e-waste isn't managed properly, it can lead to emissions that harm both the people and the planet. We also see impacts from improperly handled refrigerants, which contribute to climate change and ozone layer depletion. Now let's break it down by type of equipment. So in 2022, the biggest contributor to e-waste by mass was small equipment, things like toys, video cameras, microwaves, and even e-cigarettes. This category alone made up about 20 billion kilograms, or nearly 1/3 of the global e-waste. And next comes large equipment, excluding solar panels, at around 15 billion kilograms. Then we have screens and monitors at nearly 6 billion kilograms, and small IT and telecom devices like mobile phones and routers adding another 5 billion kilograms. So lamps made up the smallest share at 2 billion kilograms. And looking at what e-waste is actually made of, it's mostly just metals and plastics. So iron is the most successfully recovered metal thanks to its high recycling rates. But others like zinc and lead are much harder to extract and recycle effectively. In 2022, global e-waste contained about 31 billion kilograms of metals, and only 19 billion kilograms of this was viably recovered and brought back into circulation. There were also 17 billion kilograms of plastics in this e-waste stream. Shifting our focus on critical raw materials. So e-waste is a rich source for these materials, which are crucial for modern technologies. In 2022, e-waste included around 4 billion kilograms of critical raw materials. So this included 3.9 billion kilograms of aluminium, 34 million kgs of cobalt, and 28 million kgs of antimony. So even though these materials are there, we are still not doing enough to capture them and bring them back into circulation. And here's an interesting point. So there's a clear link between a country's purchasing power and the amount of e-waste it generates. So in general, the wealthier a region, the more it consumes, the more e-waste it produces. So this highlights the importance of sustainable consumption practices, especially in high-income countries. Moving on to transboundary movement of e-waste. So tracking these flows is tricky, but we have seen improvements through better reporting and monitoring initiatives. In 2022, about 5.1 billion kilograms of e-waste were traded across borders. Shockingly, 65% of these shipments were uncontrolled and undocumented, mostly moving from high-income to low and middle-income countries. And the major exporters, you can guess them, like Europe, East Asia, and North America. And the main recipients, they would be Asia, Southeast Asia, Africa, and Latin America. And collection and recycling rates differ widely across regions. In 2022, Europe generated the most e-waste per person. So that was around 17.6 kg per capita. And since Europe, Oceania, and Americas, these regions are most generate the most amount of e-waste. They also have actually the most advanced collection, treatment, and recycling infrastructure, and therefore they had a high annual collection rate, over 40% in Europe and Oceania, and 30% in Americas. So when you compare that, in contrast, Africa had the lowest rate. Less than 1% of the e-waste was formally documented and recycled. And here's where the future comes in. So there's a push towards clean energy, solar power, electric vehicles, and so on. And this is also increasing the demand for rare earth elements and critical raw materials, and in turn, the amount of future e-waste. For example, e-waste from solar photovoltaic panels is still relatively low, around 0.8 billion kilograms in 2022, but it's projected to quadruple by 2030. So this means we need to plan right now before the waste wave hits. And just a quick word on policies and legislation. The growth in countries adopting e-waste policies has actually slowed down in recent years. As of June 2023, 81 countries had implemented some kind of e-waste legislation. This is slightly up from 78 in 2019. So together, these countries cover around 72% of the global population. Yeah, so this is just regarding the legislation. And finally, even though when policies exist, the enforcement can be a major hurdle. Countries with legally binding policies showed a better track record with an average collection and recycling rate of about 25%. Still, this is not nearly enough. Strengthening enforcement, investing in infrastructure, and improving working conditions, especially for the informal sector, will be key to closing this e-waste loop. So I'd like to conclude here, and thank you all for your patient listening. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Harshita, for a very data and analytics field presentation. We'll come back to you for more questions, but before that, I just wanted to check with Mr. Ipang. Is there any chance of getting Rob back?
Not yet. We still try to reach him, but we can continue the session with the
Right. So what Nabil also suggested that once Harshita finishes, can we just take a picture first and then we move on to questions in case Yuan or Rob or somebody.
Sure.
Robin
Sure,
in
sure.
case is not here right now. So
Okay. For all the participants, please turn on your camera. We will take a group picture. All right, just let me set up. Okay. Okay. Everybody, please turn on your camera. Get ready. In 3, 2, 1. Okay. One more. 3, 2, 1. Very nice. Okay. Please, Mr. Nadir.
thank you. So let's move on to the question and answer session. Let me start with Dr. Amal first. I'm sure all of you are just following the chat, and there are quite a few comments that a lot of awareness is needed in Asia Pacific, and the importance of legislation and importance of implementing those legislations, and that's something Harshita has covered. So in terms of awareness, Dr. Amal, I feel AIBD has an important role to play, but I would like to hear your reaction, particularly if you see the questions and comments from Devi from Indonesia.
Yeah, no, I agree with Harshita as well, because she mentioned that so there can be legislation and there can be regulation, but how do we enforce those? because we could there could be regulation to say that you cannot dump this into your general waste or into the landfill, or you cannot burn them. But so it's practically quite difficult for a country to police them, to enforce them. So the most important thing is through education. Sometimes education alone is not enough, so it's a good point to start with legislation. So the analogy is like traffic violation. So we could have traffic regulations to say that there are speed limits, or that you cannot drink and drive. But people sort of get around those regulations. So it's very important that we educate, but hand in hand goes with the regulation as well. And we need to do this sooner rather than later, because it's creating sort of a problem that is that will be very hard to address as we go along. And then we are already making a lot of impact on the environment, and we are suffering or we are getting battered by those consequences. So it's important that we educate everyone through that one. So in that respect, definitely, yes, the AIBD has a role, because we could tell our member countries that it's important for every broadcaster to educate your citizens on these issues, like that we have been doing on the sustainability or any other issues. So we have seen it is possible to do that. We have proven that during the COVID-19 that through media, through radio and the television, that we constantly sort of informing people and educating how they need to behave and what need to be done, what not to be done. But it was a special case, though. Still, we can use this mechanism to educate people on how challenging is or what negative impact this could cause if we continue to do this. And also, I think Harshita's presentation from those data shown that as we develop, as people's disposable income goes up, they tend to do these changes for these electronics pretty quickly. So that's where again the challenge comes, that we need to educate. Don't just throw away, but give it to someone to use it through proper mechanism. So Ian and Rob, they mentioned about like how they have been doing this for computers, and also safeguarding the privacy, the data already in those computers. So we could have mechanisms where those electronic devices can be put to reuse, and then once it is reused and then further cannot be used, we can put to recycling. And also we need to educate the public that recycling means it is just not putting into your garbage bin, but also to, like as I shown you in New Zealand, they can go to that electronic store and then hand in that device. They take it free of charge, and then they send to the proper formal processing places, which are again funded by taxpayers' money through other mechanism. And some of those devices are already taxed for that purpose, or added some cost into that one. So one example is this is not electronics, but in New Zealand, when you are changing the tires of a vehicle, the one who changed the tires will take over the tires and send that to recycling, because we are buying the new tire. We are already paying for the processing fee for the tire that we have already disposing.
Right. Thank you so much. Because broadcasters are looked upon to spread awareness on many things. So it's important that broadcasters they themselves follow sustainable practices. Thank you, Dr. Amal. Harshita, I wanted to go to you because I think quite a few comments have come on regulations and proper processes, and ITU plays an important role, right? ITU helps to develop this kind of regulations, also some of the standards. ITU and EBU, these are the organizations we look up to. So why don't you explain something you are writing on your comments, that how ITU can help in this regard?
Yeah. So generally, ITU works with different countries at different stages of their policy making to develop e-waste policies, e-waste regulations for the countries. And we follow a structured process where we invite consultations from the private sector, then we have public sector consultation. So it's like a lengthy process. And through all this consultations and discussions, we help each of the countries develop their e-waste regulation and also support with the implementation part as well.
Right.
So right, yeah,
Yeah.
sorry,
And,
we're right now working.
yeah, how one should go about it? I mean, can they directly approach ITU for this kind of help?
Yes, you can directly reach out to ITU. We have an environment department that looks over circular economy aspects and e-waste policy development. So once you reach out, then we have the discussions with the respective countries, and we reach out to the relevant ministries to initiate this e-waste policy development process.
So the comment which is coming from our friend from Myanmar, I think she can also reach out to ITU and she can get some help in this regard. I
Yes.
would like to go to Ian for one thing which I noticed earlier. He was talking about the obsolescence of or the problems with some of the softwares. Can we have Ian also here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Is it, you are here? Sorry, I couldn't see you. So there are some comments, Ian, which you might have seen about that people are forced to give up their phones or laptops because the software has moved on, so the hardware becomes obsolete. So you were just illustrating, giving us the example of your why you use Linux for this. So can you just throw some light that how we can avoid this kind of situation? Just because some software got upgraded, that I need to throw my hardware and create a whole lot of pollution?
Yeah, it's a little harder with phones from my perspective, because we've heard stories from companies like at one point, I don't want to pick on Apple because I'm sure different Android companies have done the same thing, but they were in the news because they slowed down the processors, and their spin was that they were trying to save battery life on older devices. Obviously, us skeptics are saying, well, you're probably trying to sell new devices. Then the other real one for us is like here in October of 2025, any device that can't run Windows 11 that doesn't have the TPM 2.0 module on it, which just, as far as I know, helps with encryption security. It won't run Windows 11, so you're out of luck. Except now you have Linux that can breathe new life into these devices.
Right. Any such experience with broadcasting devices? Because typically, what I've seen that a studio or a broadcasting organization, and this question is to all of you. I believe a lot of director of engineering services have also joined. So I would like your feedback also. What I've seen that typically it depends on the budget. If you get money, you suddenly upgrade your studio. Whether the studio equipments have reached their end of life, that is not a consideration there, right? So you suddenly upgrade your studio, you upgrade your transmission facilities, etc. So and then we don't really pay an attention to what is happening with the machinery which we have just replaced. So what is the best way to use those? Is it possible to somewhere refurbish or use any personal experience from you or anyone in the audience who would like to share?
We don't get a ton of radio specific equipment. Sometimes we get the cables in and some hardware mixers and stuff. And Bill Polonsky, Rob's partner there, goes through our shop, and it's a wonderland for him. He's kind of skipping through and, ooh, look at this old radio, and like he gets his pick. We're happy for it to go to him because it's a good home. So I'm not sure about the specific radio equipment, but I do know for them, they've had success in leaning towards open source software, because then they can use much older equipment, like the sixth gen iPads are on their way out. They're just about unsupported by Apple, but they're going to be usable for years by Bill for their mixing.
Right. Thanks, Jan. Anyone else from the audience would like to share their experience on how they have dealt with a situation where, because of upgradation of studio or transmission technology, etc., a lot of material has come out which has not really reached its end of life. How did you reuse them? How did you sort of refurbish them? Or any sustainable practices you have come across or you have participated in? Mr. Ipeng, and if Nabil is back, maybe you can help with that.
Yeah.
If there are some engineering heads, they can share their experiences maybe. Yeah, Nabil.
Thank you very much, Mr. Anandya. Yeah, I have seen several of our friends, AIBD friends, who are like into the technical department and heading technical department of their respective organizations. So if I may request them to just turn on their microphones, cameras, and comment that how they are dealing with their e-waste things. If anyone.
Excuse Nabil, while they are coming on board, if I quickly use that waiting time to tell something that
Yes.
that's something I did with my team back in 1997. So this is not about the e-waste, but the reuse of equipment. So in 1997, I was heading the engineering of national TV in Sri Lanka. So we implemented the rehabilitation project for the Studio 3 and for the transmission network. So what we did was we used the transmission network, all the equipment, because they are still serviceable. So we created the second program channel. And then we started once again a second program channel, which is today known as the I channel, which is operational since then. So lately it has been further upgraded, but at that time we did not simply dump the transmission part. We extended its use by reusing to introduce a second program channel. So that was a great achievement from my team, which I led with all other engineers and technical staff.
Thank you so much, Dr. Amal, for a very relevant, example. Thank you. And I think, Nabil, I hand it over to you because we are coming to the end of our time also. And if there's some other comment, please take that, and then it's over to you. Thank you.
Okay, so I have like two comments over here. One is by Miss Fawzia Sultana, and I believe she's from Pakistan, and she has commented that with the help of China, there is one waste management company working in different cities of Pakistan. There are many things which are recycled and different new products are being produced. In Karachi, there is local company which collects to wastage and convert them into biofertilizer, and that biofertilizers are used in fields of vegetable, etc. While e-waste is not properly disintegrated, and as my personal information, that e-waste is put directly into river or sea as easily available. Okay, that is like
it's not very sustainable. So
dangerous thing. And I think that Miss Devi from Indonesia also like mentioned that thing, the disposing of e-waste into seas and river releases hazardous substances such as lead, mercury, cadmium, etc. so which can have so many different issues. Okay, for the sake of reference, what I would like to show that if you remember that when you were registering, you answered some of the questions. There was survey questions, which I would like to just show as a snapshot that what is the regional point of view regarding e-waste. So let me just share very quickly that what is happening in the region, especially from your point of view. So just a moment, let me just share my screen. Since we have 80 respondents, and 80 people mean that these people are from the media broadcasting industry. So, and so we have some friends from Nigeria, Papua New Guinea, Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, Bhutan, Myanmar, Ghana, Malaysia, Mauritius, etc. So you can imagine that we have a good sample. So here, if you can see that what challenges do you encounter in the newsroom while preparing or producing climate change? Oh, sorry, really sorry. I shared the wrong form. Just a moment. This was our previous one, not this one. Just a moment, just a moment. Okay, now I got it. So still good. Just a quick snapshot. All right. So here we have people from Nigeria, Pakistan, Papua New Guinea, Samoa, Saudi Arabia, Sri Lanka, Taiwan, Bangladesh, India, Egypt, Malaysia, Indonesia, Mauritius, and really sorry that if I'm missing some of the country's name. Um, the the thing is that 69.9% of the respondents were public broadcasters. So if we can have this thing, then how does your organization currently handle obsolete electronic equipment? So 50% of them said that's just stored in warehouse. And I have seen so many public broadcasters having huge storehouses, warehouses where everything is dumped. And then, of course, they are having all different sorts of dumping without any like uh, proper uh, plan for that. And that donated some of the things are being donated or resold, disposed through journal based, recycled through licensed vendor, no formal process. So 27% mentioned there is no formal process. And does your organization have a written e-waste management policy? This is where AIBD is concerned, and this is here where AIBD can help you. That 59.4% mentioned that there is no e-waste management policy for their respective channel, and 20.3% mentioned that it's in development. So definitely we would like to engage them that how they are going and what kind of challenges they're facing while developing this kind of policy. And while there are 14 respondents who mentioned that there is a policy, so we will be definitely engaging them as well. So who is responsible for managing e-waste in your organization? Engineering department. And the next highest is procurement asset management. No designated team. That is also one of the things. Facilities management and IT department as well. Which type of equipment generate the most e-waste in your organization? So most office IT equipment, PC, printers, etc., 68.5%. Studio production equipment, 45.2%. What challenges do you face in implementing sustainable e-waste strategies? So lack of awareness training, again, here AIBD can help you. 71% of respondents mentioned this thing. And limited access to recycling services, 40.6%, and budget constraints and no regulatory guidance, which is the most important thing, where we can collaborate with ITU and other experts on having this thing. How often your organization upgrade or replace major broadcasting equipment? So only when equipment fails. Even I change my mobile only when it fails. But then everything has its own precision thing. So 17.8 mentioned not sure. while some of them mention that every 3 to 5 years, etc. Does your organization maintain a log or inventory of decommissioned or unused electronic equipment? So 42.5%, meaning 31 respondents mentioned that regularly updated. But no formal record. There is also some organization who do not have any formal record of the log inventory of decommissioned or unused electronic equipment, which is kind of alarming thing as well. Lastly, would you be interested in participating in follow-up initiatives such as, so most of them have of you have already mentioned that why not we can have an e-waste management training, and then a regional broadcasting network, yes, and then there was one thing which was mentioned about the contributing case studies or best practices, and also there was one option, one comment given to us that we should be having some kind of mechanism of e-waste audit, that how the organizations can not only like get rid of those things or whatever solutions or strategies they can apply, but there should be an audit of that thing so it can, the entire process can be more effective and efficient. So really nice. And you want to can you enlarge? Oh, so okay. All right. So yeah, so this was the brief thing. One more thing which I want to mention, that this year, if you might be knowing and if you are receiving our circulars, that this year AIBD International Media Awards 2025, we have this one category dedicated on e-waste solutions. So there is one category of best technology and green and innovation award, which will be given to those countries, those like winning country, who will be giving us the white paper, submitting their white paper. So let me just show you that thing as well. Ah, yes, Mr. Ipan, always very quick. So this is the thing that apart from best television program on resilience in the times of crisis and best radio program on role of women in climate change crisis, we have this sustainability and green technology award on e-waste solutions. So whatever solutions you are currently having, or either it's in development or you have already applied it, do send us your papers and then submit your paper, and then our jury will be announcing the final winner for this year's International Media Awards, which will be done in Siem Reap on 22nd of July 2025 in Cambodia. So thank you. So apart from that, one last thing which I believe that also not directly related to e-waste, but still it is an interesting question from our friend from Myanmar, that she is asking that I would like to ask a question concern. Okay, I'll go directly to the thing. What kind of garbage collection system is used to collect waste, including hazardous materials, without harming the environment like soil, underground water, and wind, at the final disposal landfill? So, Mr. Anandia, since you are into the climate advocacy, how does India does that? They dispose of all these things without harming the thing.
Okay, so very briefly, there are different guidelines. So the normal waste collection mechanism is different from hazardous and medical waste mechanism, right? So there are designated agencies and there are designated ways to manage your hazardous waste and your medical waste. So, so the basic thing to start with is the segregation of waste. And once you segregate properly, then there will be some agencies, certified agencies, which will take away your hazardous waste and would manage it under certain circumstances. It cannot be managed in open landfill or along with other waste. I think that's a very basic point to begin with, Nabil.
Right. Okay. And there is, oh, okay. Mr. Nasrullah Durejo has shared very interesting link from one of the very like popular
Yes.
programs.
Yeah, it would be quite good point to begin. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would definitely like everyone to watch this thing. I'm not sure and it has subtitles as well. So do follow this link and see that how India has developed this thing. And perfect.
Can I talk for a minute, just very quick minute for a comment?
Yes, please, 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 please.
Actually, Ahmed Khan did a wonderful job doing this this season, where actually there is one organization in India doing doing this waste management system at grassroots level. Means not district but village to village. They are doing a wonderful job. I thought to share this with the esteemed colleagues here. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Mr. Nasrullah. All right. So any comments, any feedback before we wind up our session? Anything?
Thank you so much for organizing this on behalf of everyone. Thank you so much for organizing this. And I
thank
hope
you very much.
Thank you.
So thank you very much. And I believe that this thing will still continue on, and we will be definitely having some more of this subject. And we would definitely like to have more of our members to contribute next time, that how they are solving their e-waste management solutions. So even if you are not doing anything now, this is the best day to think about it and start working on it. And definitely we'll be working, we will be looking forward to your entries for AIBD International Media Awards for e-waste solutions as well. So thank you very much, and have a nice day, evening, afternoon, depending on your time zone. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.